So picture this. You slap a wealth tax on the top 10% of UK taxpayers, or the 320,000 richest in the UK, who contribute 85 billion or 60% of the total tax revenues. But here's the kicker. It won't fund new schools. It won't fund the NHS. Guess what it'll fund? Nothing, because they will pack up and leave. And when they leave, they take away their investments, they take away their spend, they take away job creation, and then you end up like Norway or France with a net loss. So, I mean, if you take France, they thought they were going to collect billions and billions in extra tax revenues with the wealth tax. In fact, 12,000 millionaires left. And that was just in a year or two. And what they left France with was a net loss of around 5 billion euro. That's not good for the economy or good for anything, is it? Let's be fair. So I'm going to run through some numbers with you, because Gary something or other is going around shouting about, tax the rich and the rest of it. And I have a good argument on this in terms of who are the rich, define fair share, because no one can. Everyone's saying they need to pay their fair share, when in fact they pay more than their fair share by definition. So here's some numbers for you. The top 1% overview. 320,000 people in the UK pay tax, and that is £180,000 in salaries, which is a lot to most people, but it actually puts them in the top 1% category. Now, the income tax paid is astonishing. In 24-25, projection is £85.3 billion, which is just a huge number that people who are shouting the mantra of a wealth tax just don't understand. They seem to scream these things without really knowing the numbers. So the average contribution of the 320,000 is £266,000 per head. And when you look at the average kind of tax paid by an individual, you're just lucky to meet £10,000. So the super wealthy and the wealthy do pay a staggering amount. Now, if you look at the ultra rich, which is the £10 million plus kind of category, which is around 1 to 200 people are in that bracket. 60 of them are earning 50 million plus, paid 3 billion in 2022 in taxes, and estimated 4 to 6 billion in 24-25, which means they're paying an extraordinary amount of taxes. So this thing about the rich avoiding taxes, there's a little bit in it. I suppose they try and put the receipts in, or they open up offshore accounts, etc. But they are paying a huge amount into the system, which is their fair share, in my opinion. So for context and debate, we're going to break down some of these countries that installed a wealth tax. Take France. The net outcome of their wealth tax, after losing 12,000 millionaires, the tax raised £2.6 billion annually, but reportedly cost £125 billion in capital flight since 1998. The 75% super tax on incomes over 1 million, which was between 2012 and 2014, netted far less than expected. So 400 million euro, probably said pounds earlier on, I meant euro, euro versus 3 billion euro projected. And of course spurred more exits, leading to its repeal in 2015. So the ISF's full abolition in 2017 aimed to stem losses, replaced by a narrow real estate tax, IFI. So they were hoping to collect 3 billion euro. They actually collected 400 million euro. And of course they had capital flight and lost a damn sight more than that. So the estimated loss for France was 5 billion euro by trying to install a wealth tax. Now, that's not good, is it? Not really good. Norway, of course, wealth tax increase in 2022. The net outcome of that was intended to raise an extra $146 million yearly, but the exodus instead caused a $594 million annual tax revenue loss. So income and wealth taxes combined, netting a $448 million deficit. So billionaires relocated to Switzerland, amplifying the fiscal hit. So look, it's just doesn't work, does it? Sweden, I think, fell neutral. They raised 500 million yearly, but lost 30 to 40 billion in capital over decades. And these are Swedish government estimates. Migration effects were too small to offset revenue. Yet economic growth wasn't heavily impacted, leading to repeal for competitiveness. Spain, I think the net outcome was a slight gain, but it's difficult to measure because they don't measure the people that leave the country because of taxes. So it's a hard one to measure there. So the general trends are from 12 countries with wealth taxes, only 4 remain: Norway, Spain, Switzerland, Colombia. This is by 2022. Repeals in Austria, Germany, Netherlands, etc. followed capital flight. So Sweden lost 1 to 2% of its richest, and the net outcome is revenue exceeds the 1 to 2% of GDP, and an overall loss. So the summary is wealth taxes consistently trigger emigration and hundreds to thousands of the ultra-rich, especially when rates spike or hit liquid assets. Net outcomes will vary. France lost, Norway lost, Sweden broke even, and Switzerland bucks the trend, but doesn't take into account the capital flight, where they actually, I think, made some money. So look, the one thing I get a little bit fed up of and get angry about is the pay your fair share. Now, if I give you an example of fair share, and again, no one can define that, that is, if I pay £1 million in tax in 1 year because of my wealth, and you pay £20,000 in tax because of your income, then what is fair share? Now, on top of that, if I have a business that employs 140, 150 people, that they also pay taxes, and I also pay national insurance from that business to the government, and of course my corporation tax to the government, of hundreds of thousands, if not in the millions per year, is that fair share? Then on top of that, I may spend £100,000 a year on luxuries, maybe eating out, maybe clothes, maybe a watch, this kind of thing, maybe cars, whereas the average person will spend £10,000, maybe £15,000 a year if they're lucky and on good salaries. Now, my spend, of course, contributes to the tax, VAT, the income tax of the businesses I spend with. Is that, by definition, my fair share? I will let you decide. Leave some comments. I'm open to debate on this. It's an interesting subject, but one that I feel many are shouting about and just going in blindly. But I would really like to know people's opinions. And instead of just shouting, tax the rich, understand what's underneath it all, because that is the most important thing. If you tax more, the wealthy leave, they close or move their businesses abroad, they find better, more cost-effective ways to do things, and ultimately the economy suffers, the country suffers, and you suffer. And that's not suffer in a way of you're going to be extra suffering. No, by far not. You're not extra suffering. But you will suffer because of the lack of income into the country. Now, many people don't seem to understand this, and it is an important feature. So, look, leave the comments. I'm open to debate. I'm open to be proved wrong, but I'm working with sort of real-time numbers here from the ONS and and other sources. I'm not making this stuff up, but let you decide.